Hey, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking with Nathan Yeung. Nathan, it's great to connect with you. You're the CEO and founder of Find Your Audience. Think Community, we're going to be talking about something that's really, really important today. Nathan's company is a fractional marketing team that solves all your marketing problems and delivers one of the things that we're all looking to do, which is pipeline growth. Nathan, I like to kick off my shows. I'm a business coach. I work with people who are successful but stuck all over the globe, and so I'd like to kick off. Tell us a story of a recent stuck of either yours or your clients, and how you or they got unstuck.
I think the biggest thing is standardizing and specialization. I think it's such a nuanced and cliche thing to say, but I think a lot of times companies want to do everything for everyone, and I think you start realizing not only the marketing impact that happens when you specialize, but also the operational impacts when you specialize. And so we've taken some clients and really niched them down so that when they're selling their service, not only is it more hyper specific, but also just on an operational perspective, they're also doing it better and faster. So it's really twofold, right? So not only is it easier for a customer to understand that they are better at doing whatever this product is, but at the same time, the company's able to complete that service or product better because they're specializing in it. So I think when we did that for a B2B SaaS company, they really started seeing their sales and their conversion rates really move up. They did see a bit of a slowdown right initially because they're making that switch from kind of doing everything to being a bit more specialized, but they started seeing the sales become much easier. And I think that was really the key point to that.
Yeah. And I think when you do Think Community, we talk about, it shouldn't be that hard. It's a lot of work, but it shouldn't be that hard. So if you can do things like Nathan is talking about, like we've talked a lot about this on the show, the standardization leads to easier sales. All right. Thanks for that, Nathan. Let's talk about fractional CMOs. I think it's really interesting because when COVID hit, we saw a lot of companies get rid of their marketing department, right? Or cut back. To me, it was a time to double, triple, quadruple your marketing. At least that's what I did. And that's how I advise clients, because you needed to get the attention when the shelf life was shorter of people. You needed more, actually. And so let's just talk about, before we talk about what a fractional CMO does, let's just talk about what marketing is and why people do it.
I think one of my favorite sayings of marketing is not actually from someone really, really famous in the industry. He is famous in copywriting for financial newsletters. His name was Gary Bencivenga. And he basically said that that marketing is salesmanship in print. If we look at that in today's world, marketing is salesmanship in all forms of assets, whether that's a digital asset, whether that's an offline asset. Really, what all of these, creative assets that you're creating, webinars that you're doing, websites that you're producing, newsletters you're throwing out an email, all of it is pre-selling. That's really what all of it is. So that's really what I think marketing is. Now, I think because a lot of people think that they're not only good salespeople, but also good marketers, what ends up happening is everyone thinks they can do it. And so that's why I think during COVID, everyone was like, you know what, we don't need marketing anymore. We can do it in-house. We don't need any expertise. And so what ends up happening is they kind of forget it's really easy for me to talk about it. It's easy for me to say that this is salesmanship in print. This is salesmanship in assets. But the execution of it is very nuanced. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people fail.
Yeah. And so where do they fail? Like, where are the top three? Where is the number one place they fail? And what is the solution?
The number one place that I think almost every company fails at is not being creative enough. There's a great saying, especially when it comes to product positioning, where the middle is where you go to die, right? You're either high end or you're low end. You're in the between. What you end up doing, you kind of neither do high end very well, you neither do low end very well, meaning you don't do cost very well and you don't do services or the product features very well. And I think creative, the messaging and the angle of how you actually produce that asset is very much the same. I think a lot of companies love to skirt the conservative side of marketing messaging and marketing creative. And what ends up happening then, you kind of get a messaging that's kind of dull, doesn't stand out in the market. And the number one thing that I also then mention to clients is you don't have budget, right? So the reality is you're not being able to throw these ads in front of people with such a high frequency where you're essentially brute forcing the message into someone's brain. So if you're not creative enough, if you're not really punching your weight, the heaviest weight you can when it comes to your creative, you're really losing a massive opportunity on that first impression. So I think people just suck at creative. Be bold or don't bother doing it at all.
Yeah. I used to say, be bold, not boring. Be bold, not boring. Yeah.
Absolutely. Or just be different. Have some humor into it. Have some extreme analogies into it. It's okay. And I think a lot of companies are so scared that they're going to ruin their reputation. But the reality is you don't have enough reach or like dollars behind your ad to even ruin your reputation. So don't worry about that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. All right. So let's talk about, the marketing in the long term. I think a lot of times people look at marketing in kind of small chunks. They'll say, well, how long do I need to do it for? To me, the answer is forever, right? This is part of your business. And so talk about just kind of the commitment to marketing, and then maybe one key thing that should always be a constant in marketing a business.
I think the key thing to think about marketing is everyone knows about the sales funnel. No one really thinks about the imaginary marketing funnel. And that marketing funnel is really the fact that there is a huge, vast pool of people that don't know about your business, and your marketing assets, your marketing tactics is really meant to move people in this imaginary funnel where first they don't know who you are. Now they know who you are. Now they're being educated, and then they finally click that CTA and provide you information so that you can contact them. You have to maintain that funnel because that funnel exists, right? And so the problem is that we're all in this world about attribution. So it's hard for someone to commit to that. But you need to understand, if there's a sales funnel, there is a pre-sales marketing funnel. And if you don't use marketing, you're going to have no one in that funnel. And there's a funnel for that too, right? A lot of companies go, we need more top of funnel, but they only look at it on the sales perspective. No, but the reality is you need to actually start doing top of funnel on your marketing funnel. And if you don't have that, you don't have enough people being educated about your product or service. And that's obviously problematic. The key thing here is to realize that you have to do it all the time. And if you were to be forced in a situation where you had no budget, okay, like you literally, scrambling to find penny to spend, the one thing that I would really recommend that everyone do is maintain your retargeting budget as best as you can, right? So, we talk about kind of nurturing leads that are already inside the sales funnel. Retargeting is kind of the same thing. If you have these people and you have the information, you have the data points to actually send them an ad, I'd highly recommend that you continue trying to send them ads. Why? Because if they haven't converted yet, these are people that are hypothetically already entered your marketing funnel. You need to try to get them to an SQL or get them to the point where they're actually becoming an MQL and they're submitting information and marketing quality lead into your funnel, and so that you keep trying to stay top of mind with them. I think if you're really stretched thin, you got to do that because you've already got these people knowing about you. You got to keep reminding them, because remember, sales doesn't always happen when there's an urgent nature. There's very few businesses and services in the world where that actually works, right? Divorce lawyers, plumbers, gutter people, roofing, all these things. Those are emergencies. But a lot of times, especially when you're B2B, they're going to come to you when they have the need. And that doesn't necessarily happen all the time.
I love it. All right. I want to talk about a fractional CMO, but we're going to do it in a mini business course. You ready?
All right.
Right. So 3 reasons everybody needs a fractional CMO. Number 1.
You will never need a full-time CMO until you're doing like 10 million top line.
Okay. All right. And the reason they need it to get started is
you need to have at least high-level guidance on your strategy and positioning and messaging before you really start diving into your product, right? You don't want to just do it on your own. You need to have a solid framework, or you're really just wasting a ton of time.
Yeah. Think community. What Nathan's talking about, the nuances is every word counts, every tone counts. What you're talking about, Nathan, is so simple. It's complicated, right? It's like the old saying by Winston Churchill or Mark Twain. If I had more time, I would have written a shorter speech. Zooming in on what you just talked about is critical to have somebody like you listening as an observer and then guiding. What's the second reason people need a fractional CMO?
They're going to help you prioritize where you're going to spend your time in marketing. It's very easy for you to waste your time on tactics. I think that's often what ends up happening. You need to, not only do you need to specialize in your product or service, you need to specialize in the implementation and execution of a tactic that is going to be most beneficial to your organization.
I love it. I love it. Prioritizing. I give a time management talk a lot. And one of the key things I talk about is how to prioritize. Most people are very awful at it, and they don't know how to do it. And so they need someone to work with them on really how to prioritize and execute in order. What's the third thing?
Understanding your true differentiation in a very nuanced way. For example, it's more often that you'll turn off a buyer if you give them a differentiator that's not powerful enough for them to care.
Yeah.
So there are nuances when it comes to marketing and the consumer psychology behind it that are very important. And it's important for a CMO to help guide you through that. People don't always care about every single feature. So sometimes you have to focus again on the top 2 or 3 features that really push the needle for you.
Right.
So really focusing on the consumer psychology things and implementing that across your entire business.
Yeah. And really, and I'm just going to summarize what you just said also, which is creating the emotional connection. And it's got to be within, under 7 seconds or within 17 milliseconds. I mean, you don't have a lot of time, which is why I think community, if you can't do it, you need to outsource it. That was a great mini business course. Nathan, thanks for that. Let's get back to you and talk about you as a business person. Success is never a straight line. So kind of give us the 1-minute version of how you got to be here, be owning a company as a fractional CMO.
I've always been in kind of the consulting world. I've always been in marketing. And what ended up happening was I put together this company because I left somewhere else. So I actually came with 6 employees. We found our way. For the first year, we were doing small contracts. Average retainers were, call it $1,500 to $3,000 a month. And we realized the amount of service that we do for these companies, it doesn't make sense. So just to give you an example, now after 6 years of being in business, our average retainer is $10,000 or more. And essentially now we've expanded all of our services across multiple areas. So now we do full website development in-house. I have 8 creative designers in-house. And we have content writers in-house, and now everything is specialized in-house rather than having contractors outside. And so the journey has been up and down, right? Pre-COVID, we were almost doubling growth, doubling our team size every year. COVID happened, we were flatlined. And then essentially as soon as COVID ended, we kind of doubled in growth right now. So we're at about 25 employees. We're still hiring. My expectation probably by next year's will be up to 40. It hasn't been easy, for everyone that thinks running a business is easy. It's not, and running a fractional CMO business is not, which is probably why there's very few fractional CMOs that actually have a team to build out all these various departments, to be able to execute, to build middle management, to build systems and processes across a variety of different tactics. We work at corporate events, we work at, trade shows, we do activations, we do media buying. We have to have process for all these things. I'll be honest, for everyone that's listening, I built this business on the steepest cliff possible because I did not actually specialize. So I'm eating my own words here. I did not specialize, but I specialized in providing a specific service to a specific client. But that was a very broad service, though. So it took us a very long time to operationalize, but now we've hit scale, and so we're able to offer these services to much larger clients.
Great. As a business owner, I find that once you grow your business past 9 people and you get into double digits, it's a different game. So what's one of the biggest obstacles you have with just retaining, training, and retaining and growing your people?
All of that, John, all of that. I'll tell you the numbers because I remember it. we were at 12, I was happy. I had a pulse on everything that was going on in the organization. As soon as I hit 20, I started losing grasp of that. As soon as we broke 20, I started realizing how much more difficult it is. And really, the key thing is you got to find amazing middle managers, and you really know that. There's a saying, it's like hire fast, fire fast, faster, and promote fastest. Yeah. And I think that's something that I certainly attest to. I have come to the realization that anyone that has problems before 3 months, we have to let go. Never once have we been able to have an employee become a C+ employee to an A employee after 3 months. If they're not an A employee by the 3 months, they're not going to be an A employee afterwards. Right. And so I think that's the biggest detriment, is actually holding on to talent for too long. I know that sounds mean, but at the end of the day, that person will impact other people. Your Bs will become Cs if they're working with a C. And that's not something you want.
No, I actually think hire slow, fire fast. If you can't move somebody into the right seat, but if you reverse engineer that, Think Community, you've heard me talk about this before a lot, which is only hire great, which means don't hire because you're desperate. Don't compromise the hire. A lot of times, people hire someone, and in their gut they say, on paper everything's right, but something's missed, something's off. Don't hire, only hire great. All right, let's do a quick speed round. A book or a TED Talk that's had the biggest impact on you?
Scaling Up. That book. Scaling Up's a great book. I love that book because I'm a very science-driven person, and the fact that this book literally references everything under the bloody sun, I really enjoyed the fact that book was not just some author talking about his anecdotal evidence. It was, this is reference from this. This is reference from this book. This is a reference from that. I loved it. It's an amazing book.
Vern Harnish is in Scaling, right? Yeah. So it's a great book. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
There is no right or wrong. There is only a better way.
That's good. Finish this sentence. One thing everybody should do today to grow their marketing initiatives is?
Specialize.
Yeah, that's good. It's great. Nathan, this was great. Think Community, we talk a lot about marketing. Marketing is so critical, something that you should really never stop doing. Whether you're specializing or whatever you're doing, like Nathan's talking about. To me, one of the things I want to extract of what you talked about today is you always got to be working on clear messaging. You always got to make it easy, going back to what you said initially, easy to do sales. And if your sales are off, it means your messaging typically is off. And if you and your team can't figure out why, it's good to reach out to somebody who can help you. Nathan, tell everybody who your ideal clients are and how they can connect with you.
Absolutely. So we generally work with B2B SaaS companies with an ARR, an annual revenue run rate of, call it 5 million or more. And we like to work with companies that only have a single marketing individual and they're really looking to scale up. So you're kind of teetering on the end of, do we hire or do we hire out? So that's our ideal clients. And we work with some of the largest clients in Canada, Constellation Software being kind of one of our largest clients, largest software company in Canada.
And they connect with you through, give them all your info.
Yeah, sure. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find me at Nathan Yeung. I should be one of the few. Or you can also go to our website, which is www.findyouraudience.online, and you can book a call with me anytime there.
It's great. Nathan, this was great. I'm glad we got connected. I love watching all your stuff online. I appreciate everything you're doing. I think marketing is critical for every business to scale and to grow. Think Community, if Nathan can help you, please reach out. If I can help you, please reach out to me at jondwoskin.com. Nathan, thanks. Think Community, appreciate you all. Thanks, man. Appreciate it, Nathan.
Thanks, John.